Laty Xiyavong. My last name starts with an X, so everybody's always confused. So it's Laty, phonetically L-O-T-T-E, Xiyavong, S-A-Y-A-V-O-N-G. But to give you a quick background about myself, I'm actually an immigrant from Thailand. My mom and dad, they're actually from Laos. However, my grandfathers, they're actually from Thailand. They had moved from Thailand, northeastern Thailand to Laos, met their wives there. My parents actually fled Laos in Vientiane in the early 1980s or so. From there, they actually was waiting for asylum to come to the United States, Canada, France, or Germany. While in the refugee camp, they met, so they had myself and my sister. We came to the U.S. in the early 1990s. Actually, wait, 1988, late 1988. So we came to the States. I was born in a refugee camp. We came to the U.S. We lived in Seattle and then moved around the Pacific Northwest. Again, my parents are immigrants. English is their second language. They came here with $80-some, right? So they came here with $80-some with 2 kids. My mom didn't know what's going on. She tells me the story, once we got to Seattle, I literally cried because I didn't know what was going on, right? You go through immigration. There was nobody to help her. So she saw my aunt and uncle, and she's like, "Oh yes, you have a sense of family now, right? Because you see somebody outside of the space that you don't know." So we always moved around. We lived in Washington, moved down to San Francisco when I was in middle school. We came back up to Oregon when I was in high school. Then in high school, we were actually living in Vancouver, Washington. My dad's a mushroom broker, so he always travels down southern Oregon to pick mushrooms, morels, matsutake, chanterelles, so on and so forth. So everybody asks us, why did you guys pick Klamath Falls? Well, it was because of my dad. He came down here because he was picking mushrooms, and they would always come into town to the bank, so on and so forth. We have a family friend that runs a donut shop. A long time ago, there was the Jefferson Square Mall, right? Jefferson Square Mall, where the old Savory/Hagen's was at. Right adjacent to Jefferson Square, to Terry's Donut, there was a little space there. My dad's friend was like, "Hey, why don't you guys try out a Thai restaurant?" And my parents' dream is to have that American dream, right? To come and be successful wherever you're at. So they actually came here, and I told them, I was like, "You know what, Mom and Dad, I'm not gonna move with you guys. You guys go ahead and move. You and my 2 younger sisters, you guys move." I was still a sophomore in high school, and I was very involved with my high school. And I was like, "You know what? No, you guys move. You guys try it out first. Let me do my thing. Let me just finish school." So I actually did finish school up in Vancouver, Washington. They were here for 2 years or so at Jefferson Square Mall. And after Jefferson Square Mall, they had outgrew that space, and they went to where Baskin-Robbins is at. I've always been a big city type of guy, living in San Francisco when I was in middle school, in Seattle, in Portland, and going out to Spokane/Cheney area. I was like, "Oh, it's a smaller place." So I liked it. It was a big school. I was very involved in the campus. And my parents were like, just come back. Why don't you apply to OIT? And at first I didn't know there was an institute here. And I was like, "You know what? Let me research it out." So when I was at Eastern Washington, I actually was in the communications program, communications with an elementary education focus. So I searched online, applied to all the Oregon schools, and of course I applied to OIT, got into OIT, and started my program here at OIT. But we've been here for the last 16 and a half, 17 years, and I've been in Klamath for the last probably 12 years or so. And a lot of people always ask me, "Hey, why are you still here? Why?" I ask myself, why am I still here, It's because, again, it's our community. Growing up in Seattle area, it was a big community, You go somewhere, you're a nobody. Here in Klamath Falls, you go somewhere where people know who you are. People know your story. People know your family. People know your background. And it's that sense of culture that I enjoy. Thai culture, Southeast Asian culture, we are a very collectivism culture, where we eat together, where we hang out together, where we live together. Western culture is totally different. Western culture, you go to a restaurant, for example, you go to a restaurant, each person in that party usually have their own entree. You go to my family's restaurant, Thai Orchid. Everybody, when people order, like bigger groups come in, they would order like an entree for his or herself. But I explained to the people, I was like, hey, why don't you guys actually just order 4 or 5 entrees amongst you 7 people? Enjoy the collectivism style of food that we're giving you. Even in our menu, there's like literature in regards to Thai culture, how we eat together, how we only have like 4 or 5 entrees, so on and so forth. But I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just, what else do you want me to talk about?
So, Laty, I think part of what this experience is that you've been able to see the best of both worlds.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so growing up, I grew up in like Seattle, Laty, Washington area, right? Growing up, believe it or not, I never saw myself as a minority. Like, I'm always in class, like 80% of the students, they're Caucasians, they're white. But growing up, I never saw myself as a minority because my parents had taught us to be a part of the culture, right? Be a part of that culture, immerse yourself in the community. But when you go home, you're in the Thai Laotian culture. So it was a conflict of culture. Mom and dad says, you're this culture once you're home. School says you're this culture once you're home. But mom and dad says you're supposed to combine these cultures. How do you do such thing? Growing up, you always want to be those white kids in this box. You want to have your name as John. You want to hang out with Bobby and his friends. But you have these other kids here who's a part of your culture. But these kids here are wanting to be that culture, but you're wanting to be this culture and that culture. So growing up, I never saw myself as a minority, even though I am. And I think it's always about perspective. Now as an older person, I travel the world quite often. I was just in your great city, and I was in your husband's great city of Reykjavik a couple of years ago. And you see the sense of culturism, even with the last 10 years. Now, Klamath Falls is just a big melting pot for me. There's so many people that come through Thai Orchid. I see a lot of international students at OIT, and I'm like, why are you guys here like every other day? Explain to me why. And it's because of food. Food is where they felt most comfortable. They're like, this reminds me of home. You remind me of home. I was like, wait, but we're totally different cultures. Like the Indonesian students, they're like, well, true, but we are the same culture. We're from the same area. And I tell them, I was like, well, that's very interesting that you're saying that, because sometimes people are like, wait, you're actually Thai? And sometimes people are like, wait, I thought you were Indonesian. It's a Southeast Asian thing. Everybody thinks we're something, but we're basically everybody together. If you put the whole world together, and when everybody's the continent splits and stuff, that's what divides us. I don't know. I'm just always rambling, You're
not rambling, you're being philosophical. It's all on how you spin it.
And then what other stuff do you want me to talk about?
So, Laty, I think what I perceive with you is that it doesn't really matter where a person comes from or where they really call home. What matters is what's in your heart.
Yeah.
And how we approach each other.
Yeah.
So I know that you went back to Thailand and you were a monk.
I was ordained as a monk actually in Laos. So going back, my first time back into Thailand was in 2006, 2007 with an organization here in town actually. It's called Climate Basin Youth Without Borders. They do a service project with Habitat for Humanities every 2 years or so. So growing up, I always wanted to be in this box, right? So I never had the desire to go back home to Thailand or Laos. My mom and dad's like, hey, do you want to go? I was like, no, why go? I'm a Westerner, right? I want to lease kids, you know. I'm a Westerner. Why go back home? You guys left for a reason. So the opportunity came in 2007 for me to go volunteer with Habitat for Humanities and Climate Basin Youth Without Borders. I went to Thailand, and it was very eye-opening. I was like, wait, why am I forgetting about my culture because I'm trying to be this other culture? I've been to Thailand every single year since, once or twice a year. But in 2010, I was actually ordained as a monk in Laos, where my parents are actually from. Ordained as a monk in the same temple my grandfather helped to build. So when I was ordained as a monk, it was another like eye-opening experience. You go through the same path as I went through the same path as my grandfather who made to go get his merits or to go get his offerings in the morning. And I was just like, whoa, I can't believe I like forgot about this culture because I was trying to be this culture. Now I go back every year and I bring a part of the American culture into the Thai and Laotian culture. And sometimes my friends are like, whoa, you're too much. Like, no, you're like the Thai culture, they're very soft-spoken, they're very quiet. They take their time. Not with me, it's a mixture of both culture. I'm just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Friends were like, yeah, we'll meet you for dinner at 7. You know what time they actually come? 7:45. It's because the Thai and Laotian culture, it's just like chill. We have a saying, it's just sabai. It just means like, just relax, just hang out. But within the last couple of years, I think my friends are picking up that Western culture that I bring. They're like, oh crap, Laty's here, we gotta be on time. We gotta kind of, I think they're trying to accommodate me, but I tell them, I say, you guys, don't do this just for me. Do it for yourself, because when you guys travel to the U.S. or any Western culture, you're not. It's not going to be like how it is back at home. My uncle, he comes here every year. He comes home to the U.S. and my mom said, you need to pick up the Westerner culture. You just can't be taking your time. You just can't be relaxing, hang out. We need places to be, things to see, type of thing. So it's always like a mixture of both culture that I'm trying to incorporate. But all these experience going home for the first time in 2007 and being ordained as a monk, it was very eye-opening. And sometimes I feel shy about like wanting to be in this box. But growing up, you know, you want to be in this box because you don't want to be that minority. You want to be the majority, even though you're the minority. And here in Klamath Falls, I still see myself as the whole majority because I'm just one of us. The only difference is our skin color and our DNA. So, any other questions? Yes?
Can you talk about when you were a monk?
Yeah,
What did you do?
so when I was a monk, my mom always had asked me, hey, do you want to ordain as a monk? I was like, no, Mom, like, why? Why would I want to ordain as a monk? Ordaining as a monk in the Thai Laotian culture, and more so like Cambodian culture, we practice Theravada Buddhism. So a male ordained as a monk to pay respect to his mom and to his family. So I was like, no, I'll never do such thing. So going back to Thailand in 2007, I was like, okay, cool. 2008, okay, cool. 2009, I got to hang out in Laos more often. And I see that people are ordaining as a monk to pay respects to the family. And one day I was like, you know what, Mom? Yeah, I want to do this. And she was so shocked. She was like, whoa. I was like, no, I want to do this because I have that sense of culture, the Laotian culture. You know, we live next to the temple. So I told my mom, and she's like, okay, let's do it. I went into it cold turkey. I was ordained as a monk for 9 days. A lot of people were like, what, only 9 days? You're ordained as a monk for how many days as you want. It's up to your own discretion, you know. Some people ordain as a monk for the whole Buddhist Lent for 3 months. Some people ordain as a monk for 2 days. So whenever you could ordain as a monk, ordain as a monk. Don't let people tell you like, oh, it's just only for these days. But I went into it cold turkey. Day 1 was rough. So it's basically eat, sleep, and pray. So you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning or so. get ready, you go chant around 7 o'clock, you go out and make your merit, you walk around the route. So there's like temples like every other mile or so. So each temple has their own route. So you go on your route, you come back, you get that food, you eat that food. A couple hours later, you eat another set of food, but you're only supposed to, you only have 2 meals a day. So the last meal is at 12 o'clock. So you eat twice a day at 7 and then 12, and then the rest of the day you just drink liquids. So what I did in the temple when I was there was actually teach some of the novice monks basic English. Some of the novice monks also went to school. A lot of these novice monks, they're from like the hill tribes of Laos, and they come into the city, Vientiane, that's where my mom is from, and it's for them to have an opportunity in the school systems. So these monks would go to school, and I would help them with like their English homework, or just help them with like basic English conversation. And then around like 8 o'clock or so, we would go into the meditating hall, and we would pray and meditate and repeat that whole process the next day. By day like 4 or 5, I was like set. I was ready to just live this lifestyle. And then, believe it or not, like by day 8 and day 9, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave the temple. It was just, you had nothing. All I had was just my saffron robe, no undergarment, no socks, no materialistic things. And it was a simple life, and that's what I liked. And a lot of my friends like, whoa, who are you? It's like, well, this is another side of me. You know, it was a simple life. It was eat, sleep, and pray. And once you take everything away, you enjoy the basics of things. So, any other questions?
Okay, so we have learned a lot this evening.